I think we're. So, a warm and especially today, extremely warm welcome to all those here. We have just the conditioning on a bit more ferociously, so hopefully she won't on. So welcome all those who made it here. We also welcome those watching online. So the second item is apologies.
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Thury, Councillor Bell, Councillor Northam and Councillor Jill Taylor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Civil is on his way back from work. There's no trainings or anything. Sure.
Oh, full marks for trying to go. So, next item, declarations of interest. Oh, yeah. So, we have to approve those in case anyone disputes them. Absence. I can still well.
Motion.
Proposing any of them seconded. Off. All those in favour? So unanimous. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Do we have any?
Thank you, Chair. We've had none pre-notified.
If anyone recalls that the meeting progresses, then let us know. Then we're all good. Next item, minutes of the last meeting. 15th of May. So, do we have them as a true and accurate record of the meeting? Who's proposed? That's it. Larry seconded. All those in favour?
Eighteen, 19, 4.
Any against?
No, abstention.
And one abstention. Thank you, so that is passed. Next item, councillor questions and statements. Mr. Wells, registered interest in speaking.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm asking this question on my own behalf, with a declared interest as an honorary alderman of the Borough of Weymouth and Portland, but also on behalf of the many honorary aldermen no longer serving the council, on behalf of those aldermen who are deceased. Members may have noted that the number of certificates of the granting of honorary alderman status have reduced quite a lot recently. These certificates are removed on the death of a recipient. The title of honorary alderman is not easily won. It is necessary to have served on the borough council as mayor, a role which you are eligible for, in order to be eligible for at least 9 years, or to have served uninterrupted for a number of years, but have declined to be mayor. We are now a town council, no longer a borough, and I am totally committed to the town council. I would not stood for election if I were not. I would like us to not only be just the best town council we can, but the best town council. Part of achieving that will be by being informed by our history and through which we create our future. This does not mean we hark back to former days, very far from it. But I believe we should pay deference to those who went before us and respect to all the work they undertook and their achievements in what I believe to be the best time in the country to live and to work. I would like the decision to remove certificates on the death of an honorary alderman to be placed on the agenda for full council and debated at an appropriate time in the future. I'm happy to abide then by whatever decision the majority of us make, but I think it should be a discussion that we have. I don't believe there will be any cost implications on the request, since the certificates still exist and shelves are already in position. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Webb. Call on the two.
Thank you, Chair. The Alderman and associated records, benefits, scrolls, etc. Are a function of Dorset Council that passed to that council when Weymouth and Portland Borough Council ceased to be on the 1st of April 2019. At that time, Dorset Council left the scrolls of their current alderman in a chamber where you can see the majority of them tonight. Dorset Council did not leave scrolls for deceased aldermen as it is not usual practice to display the scrolls of aldermen that have sadly passed. It's only practice that those for current aldermen are on display, and it is usual practice that the display is with the council that the remit sits with, i.e. Dorset Council. However, they were left here, and members have always been happy that they are displayed. It is usual practice to take down the scrolls for aldermen when they pass, hence the fact that Dorset Council only left the scrolls in the chamber for those aldermen who were alive at the time that the reorganisation occurred. Weymouth Town Council has continued the accepted practice of removing scrolls when aldermen pass, and these are offered to the family for first refusal, and if they do not want them, they're then passed to Dorset History Centre for preservation and curation as part of the historic record of the governance of the town of Weymouth. However, this matter is well within the remit of councillors to determine, and I'd be more than happy to put an item on the next full council agenda should councillors wish to discuss it. Thank you.
So if we can't vote on this tonight, motion, but if councillors during the course of the next month, they'd like to bring this as a motion, then next. I believe Councillor Sybil was going to propose a question to us. Then we'll have it written down on the I'll ask James.
I will, thank you, Chair. So Councillor Sybil wished to ask, he wanted to start by firstly saying, please could I thank all of those involved at the council and third parties for the excellently organised commemorations and indeed celebrations for Weymouth Armed Forces weekend. It was wonderful to see so many veterans of our armed forces, to honour their service and sacrifice, and to witness the respect shown by so many people of all ages, both local to our town and from further afield. During the events of last weekend and on Memorial Day at the end of last month, it's clear that some of the memorials to the fallen are starting to suffer the ravages of the weather and passing decades. The clarity of some of the engraving is beginning to fade, and some of the stone itself is eroding. Do we know who is responsible for the upkeep of each of the memorials along the esplanade? And are we able to investigate the likely cost and time frame of refreshing the memorials, please? Thank you, Chair.
Or want you to answer your own question.
Thank you, Chair. First sign of madness talking to yourself, especially answering your own questions. I'm happy to report that we know who is responsible for all of the memorials. Some are leased to a third party, such as the Merchant Navy Memorial. Thank you, Deputy Town Clerk. But the Town Council is responsible for 6 of the main memorials and monuments along the Prom. These are the War Memorial itself, the Anzac Memorial, the Jubilee Clock, US War Memorial, the Sir Henry Edwards statue, and the Great Gale Stone. An independent review was carried out by Carter Jonas in 2021, and this highlighted the need to undertake a formal review with a conservator to agree appropriate methodologies and planning of preservation, and also the associated costs involved in not only getting that advice, making that plan, but also carrying out the work itself. And this is going to be carried out in the coming months. The report also recommended some synthetic stone cleaning, which took place in October 2023, and is programmed on a 3-year cyclical basis at a cost of £1,300 per year. The Town Council carries out yearly inspections, and the beach team carry out fortnightly checks. 3 of the monuments, the War Memorial itself, the Jubilee Clock, and the US War Memorial, are Grade 2 listed, and so work to them must be carried out by specialist surveyors and contractors. Unfortunately, currently, we anticipate the work to bring all of those 6 listed memorials up to spec to cost in the region of slightly over £180,000. It's not cheap work, Chair. The development team are looking at grants from Historic England to help fund these costs. And a report will be added to the, or has been added to the forward plan for the Environment and Services Committee later in the year. And this will cover work required following the scoping report, as well as costed options for councillors to consider. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jane. So, thorough response. Next item is me, and there's the next one. So, thank you very much for electing me last time. You did me a wonderful year, which has started with launching straight into all the D-Day occasions, which has been really very invigorating. Bit rewarding on the Saturday. It's a fantastic job in. Others of you will get to follow in my footsteps because you get to see all the parts of Weymouth that are normally hidden. So I've been to various art groups, exhibitions, musical events, rich culture of art and music. I've also been to various school events, two award ceremonies at the college and two at the college and those at the Trinity. So I get seeing pupils, some who are popular, and others that are struggling, and just seeing the work of charities and trusts who are helping our most marginalised and vulnerable students. So again, I get to see all sorts of very worthwhile work. I'd like to be particularly focused on the work of our events teams in running two weekends. We have the event at the Nove, regional lighting, and last weekend with all the veterans parades. So sure you'll agree with me and giving thanks to our events teams who have done such a good job. There's a whole lot of them. There's the actual events teams that they spend, the volunteers, the whole team. It's been a great effort. That lets people like me bask in the glory that someone else has done all the hard work. So I really would like to acknowledge that. And finally, Councillor Webb, I call on you to come forward and receive the badge. This is in recognition of your hard work last year. Supported you.
I'll put it somewhere safe.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Next item, updates from Dorset councillors. This is an item that's been resuscitated. We did have it in the past, some years ago. It lapsed, lack of use, but it is quite a useful update. We don't want to rerun all the debates in Dorset council, but there will be times where it's useful to get updates from those. So the idea would be to keep it relatively brief. And in this period, try not to make it little. I call upon any Dorset councillor updates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And obviously, I'm a dual acting councillor with the responsibility for the Western Ward of Dorset Council. And obviously, I'm also so it gives me sort of great delight to inform this that you have seen the decision by Dorset Council to reduce car parking fees in the Swannery car park for the next few months, running into the winter. Winter charging. So that will give 50% reduction in parking fees at Swannery car park, which is very good news for our town businesses. And see, it's something that our previous council wrote to Dorset Council in support of, so it's good news. The second piece of information I've got to update on is that members may have seen the cost of living fund is back instated in Dorset Council's budget, which will introduce £2 million to support the most needy in our communities. And obviously being in Weymouth, an urban area with multiple areas of deprivation, it goes to support our residents here. The delivery plan on that is yet to be agreed and will be given to an overview committee for review.
Well, thank you. Councillor
It does work. As a member of the Dorset Council and as an opposition member now, the major issues for us has been the bird situation, which has been delayed this month. And they now made their way through most of Weymouth, but that's been the major issue that's reminded Councillor Dickinson's inbox. I met with the new cabinet member for highways and just about everything else. I think he is John Andrews, very nice fellow, coming all the way down from the deep north of Sherborne, to discuss improvements on the main loop. And that is that, and so go into sort of the business, which I'll get able to get into, but that's all I have to add.
Good. Well, thank you, councillors. Ashley.
Yeah, thanks. So just that, so cabinet for finance, I'll just do a very brief update. So one other decision that was taken was to end the a number of positions, political paid positions, which has helped to fund the loss of income from the car park decision. And we've also accepted and passed last these accounts. We've presented a balanced budget for future meetings on bill.
Good. Commendably brief. That's good. So this will be a standing item for the future. So you'll have to keep alert to things that might be of interest. And you'll have to update us next time. Thank you, Mr. Hagg.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just in recognition that there are members of Dorset who don't serve on this committee, and they invited, sorry, this council, are they invited to send notes or?
Yes, thank you, councillor. Yeah. Issues are extended to the knowledgeable matters, either to send a report. Good. And next, thank you, members of the public, for coming. So this now we move on to public question time. We've had some pre-notified speakers, so Peter Rendell, Mr. Rendell, and also Rob Cheeseman. The timing for these is 3 minutes each, and it's obviously a question. I frame it's a question, but the technical stop. So, Peter Rendell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors. I suspect that you're all saying, "Oh, not him again." Well, you know, one subject for this evening is the renaming of the council itself, but funded Weymouth and Melbourne Rees as it has been through our history, except when the government back in 1974 decided to change it all over, do away with the Melbourne Rees, which I think is important. Way back in 1966, I stood as a candidate in the Melbourne Regis ward at the area we are at present, South Melbourne. And every year till 1970, I was a very skilled loser. 1971, on the 13th of May, I actually won the seat by a whopping 13 votes, hence my interest. In 1571, brought about the amalgamation of our two towns, the Borough of Weymouth and Melbourne, by Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth I, and also added the title of Regis. In 1971, the year I was first elected, the council celebrated the 400th anniversary of the merger. Also, the council welcomed Princess Anne, who officially opened the new council officer, now a car park. Now, a few years ago, 2021, this council quite rightly celebrated 450 years of the giving of the name Regis after Melbourne and the joining of the two towns. This can only be given by the reigning monarch, in this case, Queen Elizabeth I. Mr. Mayor, councillors, we should not lose the name given, name and Melbourne Regis. Would other towns give up their history? Here Regis, Lyme Regis, even White Regis? I do not think so. So please give this very careful thought. One of the arguments put forward previously was the wording is too long. I counted the letters and spaces. When it was the borough, it was 42. And we do it for the town now, it would be 38. I'm not asking you if the vote is yes to change, which I certainly hope it will be, to suddenly throw away headed papers or buy new vans or even more in the wording until such time when the vehicles have to be changed. I know there's a cost involved, but I don't want to see, let's say, letterheads. We've got a pile of them just thrown away in the dustbin, or go out and buy new vans with the new title on it. Do it as it becomes necessary. So, thank you for listening to my thoughts, and I hope your debate was good, and in my opinion, for the good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honourable Alderman. So rather than give a reply now, it's going to be on item 19, which gives us a chance to debate this. What I'll just do is to, the public questions finish, just to move item 19 forwards so we can give concerted response and that you're able to step off unless you like to watch the entire meeting. So we'll come back to that very shortly while we're here. So let's move on. Equal to Cheeseman.
Thank you very much for having us at I think relatively short notice. I'm Penny Quilter and I'm here as representative of Wayne Climate Hub with Paul Cheeseman, and we just wanted to do a little bit of a report back from Great Big Green Week. We do have some questions that we hope, suggestions that we hope the best council will act on within this. But for those of you who are new or maybe haven't met us before, we are a small charity with the objective of improving the response to the climate and nature emergencies, so working within our local community. And we are hoping and looking forward to working with Weymouth Town Council next year, 2025, for Great Big Green Week. So one of the things that we did during Great Big Green Week, which is all about the things that the community are doing, we had a film show, we had a community meal, we went on a trip to an organic permaculture small holding in Dorset. There was some music and there was a spoken word events. We did sort of repairing stuff, and there was a big seaweed survey down on the beach. One of the things we did during that was we took around, I haven't got the big board, but we took around a board and we asked people to write down ideas and vote on things that they thought would be in our Green Mayor's, the Green Mayor's wish list. So we wrote down things that we tried to make relevant. I can see that there's some guidelines up there. Even if they're not within the gate of the council, we're hoping that maybe you can lobby also on behalf of the ideas that have come from the people of Weymouth during this last week. I'm just going to maybe highlight a few and then Rob's going to pick up on anything I've missed out. So I think EV charging points is
1 minute remaining.
okay. EV charging points is one of the things on your agenda. That's also on our list, so that's good news. And I'm just going to pop this up to John, if that's okay. Well, Rob finishes off.
I'll fill the last, too long. I'll fill the last 40 seconds. So there's a couple of things worth drawing out of the mayor's wish list. There was things around active travel, more walking and cycling, infrastructure in Weymouth, improvements to public transport. Obviously, I appreciate this isn't within your scope, but I'm hoping you guys will be able to step up and provide the leadership to push these issues. There was a specific reference to a resilience and emergency plan for Weymouth, which has come out of a recent Dorset Council report. And of course, Weymouth Climate Hub is looking for some permanent premises ourselves. So we're basically hoping, as Penny says, in your quest to be the best council, that you will be able to satisfy these suggestions.
That's grand.
Thank you very much.
Time's up, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. So this one was directed at me, I'll respond. It's really great you've taken all this work, and I've actually visited the school while they were in the Green Weeks. I've seen people's enthusiasm. I fight with about 30 of them, so it was a great event. We'll take the list, which we've kindly supplied, and the copies. What I propose to do is take it to the climate emergency subgroup. We'll consider it there, work out what we can do, what other people need to do. Then on that, we've been through to the Environment and Services Committee, so that will be the routine. So we will take it on board and look at it. See. Thank you. Suspect we now know the question. We may not have been pre-noted by Mr. Bond. You have 3 minutes.
Need 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you put that up. So I'll make a copy of that. Been part of my problem as to who runs what, who to call for. When I come to the meeting, I want to thank you for the black new. Did me for 20 odd years to come here. But then I've been shut down now to some Dorset Council questions and not or whatever. Just wanted to find out exactly what you are capable of doing or trying to do on there. Yes, I can read from here. And so I'll go like a copy of that. The one that said I had to go somewhere to meet my councillor and what's ready. So the public participant situation, it's all been strangled a bit, isn't it? For a long time. I don't even want to know, and there's a lot of shows, a lot of local shoulders over there now, but I don't pass it. If you don't want to do it, now at least I've got some idea now. You do cover, you aim to cover this next year. We haven't done much yet, we don't know how much I can complain about. It's up to you, council. What new faces here, what are you going to do? You need my
And you have a copy of that slide is wigging his way. So this is a slide we put together. I imagine it might be helpful to many people. It is confusing. And many members of the public onto the front of our building, we have a similar slide at the front because a lot of the doors, the library, rather the town council, it seems scope is the old Borough Council. But anyway, I hope you find that useful. We're able to square our shoulders and deliver things that are responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll just finish this part of the meeting with the election of deputy leader, item 9, and item 9 I'll bring forward 19. So, councillors are asked to elect a deputy leader. Councillor Harris.
I'd like to propose Councillor Caitlin.
And really, I think all back in one.
We should accept it.
Yeah. Councillor, would you accept the nomination?
Thank you, Steve, thank you.
Do we have any other nominations? All those in favour?
It's unanimous, Chair.
Wonderful. Congratulations, councillor Bullock, you are now deputy leader of the council. Now we're going to jump ahead, snakes and ladders style, to item 19. Up your papers. Jen, well, issues.
Chair. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Councillors will recall at the last full council meeting that I was asked to prepare a report with other officers concerning the request to consider changing the council's name from Mr. Rendell. You have the report in front of you, and there is an accompanying report with your agenda, which I will just call up. The officer recommendation is to not to pursue this work stream due to significant costs and risks. Main areas of impact of climate and environment emergency, financial resources, risk management, and corporate priorities. Although the council is revisiting its corporate priorities, 7 that the council currently have, this work stream does not support any of those 7, unfortunately. And I will just call up the report, which I know councillors would have read, but just for completeness, I'll pop it up. And Chair, I am happy to respond to any questions, and members may wish to discuss this in light of the question statement from Mr. Rendell.
Councillor Weller.
Very much, Mr. Mayor. I would like to put forward a proposement of an amendment to the request to rename Weymouth Town Council to Weymouth and Malcolm Regis Town Council. The town clerk has been informed of this in advance. If I could just give you a very brief background. I'd like to say at the outset that I have the deepest respect for Honorary Alderman Peter Rendell. I understand totally his motives in making this request to the council, which I would love to support. When discussions first began on local government reorganisation, it became clear that the formation of a new town council would be required. I did my best to gain support for the new authority to be named after the old borough prior to the previous reorganisation in the early 70s. Malcolm Regis. Thus, paying respect to the importance of the ancient maritime, economic and civil history of the 2 towns. I not only had little support from fellow members, my request was met with hostility from many officers. I was successful in including a question on the subject of the name on the consultation document of 2019. Sadly, there was insufficient support then for resurrecting the old name. Despite continued reference among many residents on the ancient history, I believe the same would be the case still. I regret that the expense of exploring how the authority could go about changing the name is not justified. This is much more complex than simply changing letterheads to names on lands, as Clark's report very ably demonstrates. I would therefore like to propose that we seek to change our name in a roundabout way, really. We retain, we are and will be the best town council in the country, and that is Weymouth Town Council. We add to that, below that line, the strap line, which says, in the ancient borough of Weymouth and Malcolm Regis. I was going to give you a little history lesson. I'm not going to, Councillor on your. That the addition to our letterhead will ensure that our history is not forgotten, and anyone interested can look it up, well documented. We can demonstrate to those that do care that we are respectful of our history, council taxpayers are not burdened with additional expense in these difficult times when every penny counts. Someone can look at this again when we have our next reorganisation. I certainly hope I will. I don't think I will be. But just adding that little strap line is my amendment. We don't pursue the idea of consultation, council and all of the other things. Just have that little strap line under Weymouth Town Council, and everyone will know we are just still, but not in spirit, but not in neutrality. Thank you.
By the way, strap we had about and on the letter heads and on the website. Do you have a second? I've had two speakers.
Thank you, Chairman, very happy.
Proposal, I think is a very good compromise. The former Urban District Council, when Malcolm Regis was around for a very long period of time, has been some time since then, 50 years now. I think there needs to be a greater education and some of the history of this town. You know, I'm very proud to be born here. I was going to put the suggestion of Weymouth in it. Council. Preston doesn't like county. Yours in Preston County. But I'm very happy with this proposal. I think we don't history and heritage enough, and I think it's something that would be most welcome. I think we need to go through another community government review just yet. It was a long-winded process enough, although I enjoyed that. And this is a very good compromise that gets around a number of the cost issues.
I think I said earlier, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do sympathise with our honourable Alderman and understand his passion to push this forward. And I do respect Councillor Weller and her approach to compromise. However, I still can't believe today with the struggles of our local residents, we're here talking about the name council. The cost of £20,000, or just sorry, nearly £21,000 find in the appendix. Even this slight change will come in with some costs, not as much, but there will be costs. Weymouth is a combined community of individual areas. Leary's already mentioned this more. Councillor Dickinson mentioned Preston. I'm obviously going to mention Weston. Mighty Weston. And of course, it's 12 demographics make the community of Weymouth. And I think this is more pressing issues we should be focusing on council rather than a strap line or a council name change in this time. £21,000 could be so much better spent on our local residents. And for that reason, I cancel.
Just seeking a clarification from the town clerk on the cost of this. So the town clerk could just repeat what you just said.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So changing the council headed letter paper, we don't pre-print our letter paper so that we only print what we use. We print that in-house, so that will have a nil cost. Changing the front page of the website, we do need to get our contractors to do that. We are unable to do that in-house, and I anticipate that coming in at a relatively small amount that can easily be met from existing budget. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. So we do have a motion that is proposed and seconded. We're going to vote on it soon, see if it passes. See, Councillor Weller out there would like to speak again. Can make it
No, it was just a point out, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So there he wants to come back.
Yeah, thank you. Just not really, this is a compromise around the cost. In regards to priorities, we don't always set priorities for what we're after. A resident, much respected resident, come here this evening to request this debate if we have a duty to debate that. He's on board with that. And I believe we always talk about always, these things are
sometimes they end up getting washed away and all. So that's why I should make the motion.
So in a motion, it's been proposed as
Point of the chair.
Yeah.
Are we voting on the amendment or the motion?
the amendment. This is Mr. Wells' amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one we proposed as substantial motion, so this is, this. The proposed from council, what is the motion?
Is the motion for the report?
Yeah.
One vote.
Unless it fails, in which case we'll try again. Yeah, so, okay, yeah, so we're gonna move, to the council motion, all those in favour.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17 in favour, Chair.
All those against,
1, 2, 3, 4.
the abstentions, okay, the motion is carried. Very much. So going back to the agenda now. So,
Jack, can I ask for information on some of the next full council about the timing and the cost implications of this?
Clark,
I fully anticipate it all being concluded well before next. It should only take a couple of weeks, but what I'll make sure I do is email around to all councillors with a note on the agenda in the actions section, in the information section, just to confirm when that's.
is that satisfactory? Thank you. Back to the agenda. Item 10, installation and upgrade electric vehicle charging points. It's going to introduce this item.
Yeah. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval from the full council to use money from the vehicle replacement reserve to install or upgrade electric charging points on council assets to allow more electric vehicles to be charged. The action of the council's commitment to net zero is set out in the decarbonisation's in action plan, is to gradually move our council fleet of vehicles from diesel to electric. We currently have 4 electric vehicles that are being used, and they are currently charged at various locations. We've currently got in the near future an opportunity to increase that and looking at swapping some of those vehicles to electric. But we obviously need more charge points or a better placement of charge points to allow us to do that. So the report is asking for officers to have authorisation to spend from the vehicle replacement reserve £13,935 from a current reserve of £191,360 to allow us to upgrade and install our Victoria stores, Queen Street stores and Promenade. So the report coming forward now is also a good timing in terms of the timing of the promenade work can also be fit in with works of other electrical installations in July of this year to make that work more efficient if we're able to do it in this time frame. So the recommendation I'd like to put forward is to put full council to approve the request to spend £13,935 from the vehicle replacement reserve to install / upgrade new vehicle charging infrastructure on council assets.
Right, so there's the recommendation from officers that we'll put it debate now and at some point. So, it's like, that's,
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, it's disappointed to see this strict sort of environment and services. Because I think although it sits within our carbon plan, carbon reduction, green plan, it would be nice to view on this first of all. My question then, if I can, is how many of these properties were looking to fit the electrical charging points to? I think I know the answer. So, I'd love to have seen the project go hand in hand with. Yeah, so none of the either the Victoria stores or the Queen Street stores currently have on them. We did investigate the Queen Street stores and it would take strengthening to the roof at Queen Street to all solar panels. But that currently could be an option if the council were able to put more money towards solar panels. And the infrastructure on the promenade
isn't on attached to the building at promenade, so it would actually facilitate the two spaces just off of the building.
Okay,
Thank you very much for the question.
four other councillors wanting to leave, but before they do, and I'd like to respond to the rights come directly to the full council.
Chair, I should talk very slowly, the deputy town clerk just check the email trail. The reason it's come forward straight to full council is a matter of timing, because we can make significant financial savings by dovetailing this work with existing electrical work taking place on the promenade in July. If we were to follow the ENS to full council, it wouldn't have come forward until September and we couldn't have realised those savings. And I do believe that last week, yes, officers did check with the chair of Environment Services, who was happy for this to come straight to full council. I'm very sorry that that wasn't clear enough in the report, and we'll take it as an action point to include that should this situation occur again. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. We have four more councillors waiting, councillor Hooley.
Thank you, Chairman. My chief effectively is doing, the only thing I add is electric cars acting in the future, or is there other technology that can come on in a couple of years' time, it's hydrogen, and then we're going to be left in the sort of back. What is the cost saving benefit of this compared to the fueling of diesel? I may have missed it in the review.
I don't have an answer for that now. I can certainly look into that in terms of how much diesel per vehicle that.
Well,
Thank you, Chair. I think it's important to note just the clarity that the council has already directed officers to shift our fleet towards electric vehicles. And so to facilitate that, we do need to look at being able to fully charge those vehicles to make the best of them. If the council wishes to look at that decision on progressing towards electrification, then that's something that can be brought forward at a later. Thank you.
thank you, Town Clerk. Councillor Sybil.
Thank you very much. I think my question is similar to that, maybe around clarification, and it's around sort of timing. I don't have any major issues in terms of cost there, and I fully support the intention, but we have 4 vehicles at the moment. How does that compare to the rest of our fleet? What that fleet, how much are we intending to electrify, and over what period? Broadly.
And you respond?
Yeah, sure. So the decarbonisation plan, as already approved by the council, sets out the target is 2030 in terms of our hit net zero. So across that period, the next 6 years is to try and change our whole fleet over to electric. Currently, we're looking at slightly smaller vans than our larger tippers in terms of like litter vans and things like that. So they would be the next vehicles to come across. As part of the work I'm currently doing, we'll look at in the autumn, is to having the right mix of vehicles. So as the current mix, the right mix. So we may change some of the vehicles we currently got to smaller vehicles, for example. Currently, the 3.5 ton tipper type vehicles that a lot of the Green Spaces team use, we've tested a couple of vehicles and they're not quite ready yet. So that's why we haven't moved forward with any of those vehicles until we're satisfied they can deliver the job we need as electric vehicles.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to emphasise that in the plan that we've got for 5 years future, we do have these ideas of electrifying the fleet. I think it's important that if you've got some concerns about that, we've got a meeting on the 20th of July, and we're looking at the strategies ahead. So there is an opportunity for this new council to review some of the issues on that. And obviously, if the majority are in favour, modify those. But personally, I would want to see us electrifying the fleet as sensibly and as positively as we can. Thank you.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Ben, do you need planning permission? And are the planning costs in these costs, if you do? And comparison costs between the two would be very useful. Because I think the shorter range, I mean, Weymouth Town Council vehicles don't drive to the other side of Dorset. They stay within Weymouth. So their range is actually quite suitable for this. But if you could do a comparison cost, we could show the residents, this is why we're doing it, not only for net zero, but for saving money, which is important, but also the planning costs. Have you included them?
Yes, so we don't currently need planning costs to put the charge points in. At Victoria Stores, there's currently a single charge point there, which we want to make a double point, and then relocate the single charge point into Queen Street, so there's no planning for that. And installation of the cabling into the prom, there's no planning as far as I'm aware that we need for that.
I was thinking more about on the promenade. Install double charging unit on the promenade.
Yeah, so in terms of the cabling and things we're looking to put in now, there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no planning needed to install that. In terms of conservation, that's why we've got the blue wrap to the unit, because there would be a conservation in terms of matching the blue colour that is the prom sort of colour, that we would need to do. So that's hence why the wrapping of the unit would be needed.
The reason I asked, Ben, is that to change the lights on the Victorian shelters, we had to get planning permission.
Okay,
Because
so I can certainly look into that further to make sure that we haven't missed anything. But
the
as far as
conservation officer was saying, I want to see the plans and planning permission.
yeah, so in terms of that, we can have a look into the actual planning needed, and that's why the blue is there to meet the conservation the needs, which I'm sure there would be from a conservation view, there would be that, hence the blue wrap.
So 2 more speakers, and then we'll try and see if we can all the motion, see if we pick up the ones that are recommended to us or an alternative. Councillor Hope again, then.
Thank you very much. Even here, I'm not here for this question, but I'll just have clarification on the costs, because the financial impact, we need to spend 8,285, recommendations asking 13,000.
So the additional cost is the actual unit and the rack, which is the 5,000 or 1,000. So the installation is to put in obviously the Victoria Street and the Queen Street, and then the cabling, and then it was obviously the 5,000 on the back is for the actual unit into the rack. So that's why it ends up being at the 13,935.
Still just slightly confused because you've got 2 requested, approval needed to spend 8,285 from the vehicle replacement reserve, and the recommendation is to spend 13,935 from the
Thank you, Chair. I believe that it's an error in the financial statement in the impact assessment, and that should read 13,900.
Well made. Councillor Shepherd.
I think stole my question. I'll ask a different. I'm assuming, just not to the biggest. I'm assuming there's no public access to the charging points for the promenade.
It would be, that would obviously locked off, so nobody could one up and plug in, yes.
So no public access. We're going to be charging council vehicles, place where people want to be charging right in front of them, but not access. We go nowhere else. So that would be quite so visible. Why did you pick the promenade?
It is because where the resort vehicles currently live and are used from regularly, so in and out. That's why it was found that was the best place, because we've got 2 parking spaces, for want of a better word, where those vehicles are really used from day in, day out. At night, sorry. So that's where we would charge them, probably use them overnight, using that place where they're currently stored. In part.
You can see my point. In terms of what public will see is council looking after themselves. And maybe it's worth having a look elsewhere. I think there are other places that could go. The fact that they're not in there isn't.
You know, not in the daytime, no, but obviously they're charging overnight, yeah, so we can review other areas, but we're the tight on where else we can put them at the minute, so certainly review it and see if there's an alternative. That may be the only place that we can put that charge point.
See, here's the value of taking things through ENS first, because obviously. Councillor Weller.
Thank you very much, Mr. It's just died on me. I'll speak loudly. There we go. I thought this was going through without any bother at all, because it's part of policy. Just goes to show, doesn't it? That operationally, those vehicles parked by the beach resort office, because that's where the people who drive those vehicles are based. If we park the vehicles somewhere else, we then waste their time going back to their office base, backwards and forwards. So operationally, being parked in those two spaces makes perfect sense. Those two spaces are not public parking. They are marked up very, very clearly not. And I really don't see, I just think that we're, you know, you talk about wasting council time and then you dance around finding objections to something that, I'm sorry, it just seems to me like completely straightforward. It's under £14,000 to put in the charging units that we require for our current fleet and for our aspirations of increasing that fleet. I'm sorry, but I'd like to propose that we go to a vote.
The Councillor Weller is proposing the recommended. Councillor approve the request. By reserve. It's often. In fact, fairly extensive debate, so I think it last chart. And personally,
I'd like to propose an amendment. I'm happy with the recommendation I've written, but I'd like to add two further points, if I may. I'd like to add that the cost for installing solar is presented to the Environment and Services Committee at the locations where the charging will be. Okay. Sound fast and reassuring to me, but that's
The cost for installing this open solar.
so, yes. And I would like a report back to ENS in 12 months' time to the cost saving benefits.
that's an amendment. Do we have a second?
Let me thought I'd do that, Chair, just so everybody report to the regarding costs for installing solar charging and a report. And a report on what was the second point, councillor Hopefully? Solar charging and a report on.
The cost saving benefits, the implementation.
Proposed by Councillor Hope, seconded by Councillor Dickens. Well, that is the amendment we're voting on. Those in favour of the amendment.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
All those against? Any abstention, one abstentions.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, that's carried, so that now becomes the substantial motion, which is the word we had what's so extra two. So that is now the substantial motion, which we will now vote on. So, the substantial motion. Or it's
Oh, right, I see, it's just. Yes, I see what you mean. So that is the correct.
So we're voting on the amended motion. All those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think the machine. That's unanimous, Chair.
Wonderful. Right, so get on with the next one. Number 11, internal audit report. On the amendment to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. The next few items on the agenda relate to the formal process. Need to go through as part of the year end, close down of the accounts. If we need to take each one in turn as per our code of practice, which is, if it seems a bit strange why we're doing them separately, that is the reason we need to do each one in turn and get a resolution passed for each one. The first one is in respect of our internal audit report. Members would have had the report from our internal auditor, and we would have also had the internal audit report which forms part of the annual governance return. I'm pleased to say that all of the internal control objectives have been met, which the internal auditor has signed off. The reason why this is taken separately, members, is because if there's any recommendations which the internal auditor has made, we need to sort out the actions which we need to take and agree those actions going forward. I'm pleased to report there isn't any actions which we need to consider, and as such, we are just asking that the internal audit report be looked.
So the recommendation from the officers that the members note the final internal audit report from the internal auditor and annual internal audit report. We have a yes, so there is. All those in favour?
It's unanimous, Chair.
Good. Item 12, in.
Yeah, so the second statement which we just need to have read is in respect of the annual governance statement, which reads now. The town clerk, the proper officer, myself, the responsible financial officer, have to go through a number of assertions and ensure that we comply with those assertions. The internal auditor also looked at our control environment, and having gone through that process, we have been able to agree that the assertions have been met. We are required, Chair, to have this agreed by full council, and that yourself as Chair and the town clerk and the officer sign the statement before the.
Right, everyone else been putting this forward to sign this, is still. Proposing those that we end up with wording with that the board has approved the annual governance. Return. Councillor Civil. Moving to the vote, all those in favour?
That is unanimous again, Chair. Thank you very much.
Item 13, approval of the accounting statement. Or in.
Once again, Chair, for those who have had the delight of looking at your statements this week, you'll know that this is a bit simpler in terms of the page. Again, the figures have been checked by the internal auditor and agreed as correct. And we will need full council to agree the accounting statements and for the chair to sign them on behalf of council.
It's the civil, the councillor O'Leary. All those in favour?
That is again unanimous.
Right. Good. This one's that's more interest, I think, because it's got money. The financial act and reserves in them.
Getting through these very quick. Hopefully the last one on me. So we're just required to note the final active position for the 2023-24 financial year and to agree any allocations to reserves that members wish to make. This is the existing list of reserves at the end of the financial year, and members may, if they wish, make changes to those allocations and take some money from one reserve and put it to the others if they wish. I will come back to that in a moment. The second or third part of this, Chair, is to allocate funds from the underspend, which I just asked Town Clerk if she would not mind bringing up the allocation. And this normally causes quite a bit of debate, but hopefully it should be relatively straightforward this year, Chair. Part A, which you have up there, are amounts which have already been agreed to be allocated from the underspend. So I'm hoping members will agree that formally tonight. They've already gone through the committee process. The parts in Part B are items which we need to have additional funds so that business as normal can continue. There's some health and safety concerns with the Christmas lighting to allow us to continue with the Christmas lights this year. We just are asking for that sum to be set aside for the replacement of those lights. And like a lot of other councils, we are having some not issues as such, but we're seeing some increases in the utilities costs. And this council has always been fairly prudent in ensuring that we have contingencies set aside so that we can deal that in year prior to the budget process in November. The ones in Part C are areas which have been highlighted by officers, but the recommendation from Finance and Governance was not to allocate any funds to those items at this time. I think it was felt by members of both Finance and Governance and those members of the elect committee who were at that Finance and Governance committee that it would be prudent not to allocate any more funds other than those in Parts A and B. It just allows the Environment and Services Committee time to review the priorities for the services going forwards. And it also gives the Finance and Governance Committee time to understand the reserves and what the financial implications of the priorities will be following the meetings of the priorities at the end of July. So what we're asking, Chair, is for the items in Part A and Part B to be allocated from the underspend and to delay any other further allocations until after the priorities have just been confirmed. And I'll leave it there just for a moment. I have to answer any questions.
Any questions?
We just confirm that any non-allocated monies that do sit in the general unallocated reserves rather than punishing these.
Well, yeah, you respond, then I'll chip in.
Easy to respond, Chair. Yes. So any other allocated reserves will sit there in the reserve pot, ready for future allocations in accordance with priorities agreed by.
So this is becoming good news for new council, and there's other councils and others who are involved with which are strapped for cash. Whereas we are in the great position of having some reserves, which would be something we can concentrate on this meeting on the 20th of July. So if we're doing a visioning exercise, we can also, if we need money spent on it, then this is looking at in July. Also, as councillors, you get a chance to bring forward project initiation documents. Again, it's an inspiration knowing that you can put something forward, certainty that it might be funded. All very positive. So there's a more debate or should we, the recommendations are from the Finance and Governance Committee is note and approve. So it's noting the position, noting the transfer, students and reserve have been recommended, G, and approving the transfers. Here's the hope.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, following Chair of Finance and Governance point, not there should be a D that the rest of the underspend goes to the general reserves, just to tidy things up a little bit.
Ian. You respond, Leah.
There isn't a need to formally do that, the finance regulations will keep it in on the earmark. That's the default, but if members wish, if it has, it's in then. Usually.
Or amendment or what are you? That explanation.
I'm comfortable with the explanation, I'll just, not alarmed, but more concerned that the chair of finance has made it. Even whether or not we did want to just, but I think the town clerk is set in my mind.
Right, so we're back to, have a recommendation from the, I guess it's it's proposed. Yes. Thank you. So proposed and seconded, all those in favour?
And that is unanimous again. Thank you.
Wonderful. Signal. Now, climate and ecological emergency working group. Charmaine, any more issues? Okay.
I'm happy to.
Okay, time off.
Thank you, Chair. So members will recall at the full council meeting in May, considering which working groups to stand up or delay or leave until after you decided the priorities for this council and the committees have had a chance to get to grips with their work streams. You recall that we do have two working groups that have carried on from the previous administration, those being the Climate and Ecological Emergency Working Group and also the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group. Those groups were asked to review their terms of reference, and before you tonight is the Climate and Ecological Emergency Working Group terms of reference. Happy to respond to any questions on those. You'll also note in the information item that there are no changes currently proposed to the Neighbourhood Plan Working Group, if any of you were wondering. I've just spotted Mr.
Councillor.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm a member of this working group. I will be voting. It's the only comment I would think it would be prudent in the future to look at renaming it. Something along the lines of maybe climate and environment. I think it's very silly to have an emergency working group. The period of 5 years are over. Emergency is something you know, it's now you deal with it. So I would, for the future, would you look at renaming it?
I certainly agree, it should be something now that we should deal with. But yeah, we can look at that as. Good point. Yeah. I can't say we can look at that after work. We could look at its name. Any other debate or? So,
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just reading the membership here, this is all council members of Westminster Council total. I believe there's probably more members than 4 currently on the working group. And I know the chair previously always welcomed people to turn up because there's a new ideas. I'm just wondering, total of 4 members should be a minimum. He's looking at. Yeah, what I'd like to make on the membership on, I'm hoping my colleagues sat next to me will agree to this. I'm wondering, is there any scope that we can actually make a membership petition within this group, a member of our youth council? There's one very, very keen member of the youth council in environment. And looking for a way to get involved. This young lady also has work experience with the town council within on environmental projects. And I think it would just give them a really good door to take part and see and feel more like they've had the invitation previously.
town clerk's just been checking, yeah, the details and something.
Yes, just looking at the membership section there, there's 4 council members and then up to 5 other members spread across the geographical area, but that may well be additional councillors. It doesn't preclude Times as I'm reading it, I'm a little unsure as to who's the current chair at CEE. Councillor Scott, have you got anything to feed in from the discussions around this on how you saw that working?
I feel that it should be open to as many councillors as wish to turn up. I think maybe a minimum for councillors. We do need to do something over there to make progress. But a minimum of three.
We'll just amend the wording. That's certainly the way it's been operating for the last 5 years, that we won't. Interesting, yes. We need as many brains as possible. Check.
Yes, just to a minimum of.
So, different wording, but then we'll actually propose this, can we see that?
Can they use council?
Oh, yes, that's good. What is? So just add that. Is voting. Second. Was in favour?
Is unanimous, Chair?
Now, 16, project management.
Nature, that vote was to agree the updates. Now you have to go back to substantial and actually agree it. That was an amendment to. We have to agree in totality the.
This is now, that was an amendment, this is now the substantial motion, the proposal of that substantial motion, councillor Bailey, secondly, councillor Turner. All those in favour of the substantial motion?
It's unanimous, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 16, project management review from F&G.
Thank you, Chair. This is a report that's been recommended through the Finance and Governance Committee. It was discussed at the Finance and Governance Committee on the 12th of June. We regularly review and update our policies. There have been some minor changes to the project management policy, including formalisation of the lessons learned, inclusion of the criteria, and some minor amendments to the PIC form. Members are asked to approve this so that we can work with it with immediate effect.
Any debate? Like propose, so what proposes the motion? Who'd like to second? Councillor Harris. Who's the second? All those in favour?
That is unanimous, Chair.
What's the demonstration? Number 17, menopause on the HR committee. Would you like to introduce this?
I'm happy to do a very short introduction unless the chair of the HR committee would like to. Just to say this, the policy comes recommended by the HR committee. Many workplaces are recognising the challenges faced by staff during the perimenopause and the menopause, and an effective policy will support staff and reduce the impacts on accounts. Thank you, Chair.
Any debate?
As chair of the AGL, I'd like to reinforce what the clerk has said. We had a lively discussion about this, that age and that HR, and we agreed in the end, 6 votes to 2 abstentions, that we would recommend this policy to yourselves.
Propose this to the full proposal. Seconder. All those in favour? Unless anyone wants to debate. You had your debate in the HR, from what I understand. If you go to the vote, so all those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in favour.
All those against,
1,
abstentions,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is carried, yeah. Thank you.
okay, so motion is carried, we move on to item youth champion. It's town clerk. Introducing this item.
Thank you, Chair. So this item is recommended as the report says from the Environment Services Committee, and it is to request that full council nominate a councillor to serve as youth champion for the coming year. I'm aware that the Chair of Environment Services has sent apologies for tonight, so it may be that other members will wish to speak to this. Thank you, Chair.
Any debate? Councillor Hayden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In the absence of Councillor Bell as the Vice Chair of the Service Committee, I'd like to plead with full council to support this allocation of champion role for youth council. Youth champion. Obviously, we've heard tonight already once around work our youth council, and I believe youth champion will be a great bridge between not the youth council as well as other elements of youth work in the town and our town council. Can I just ask for a point of clarity? Are we making a nomination? Wanted the position.
The items select that for election, so the name is kept.
Just put them go to the action.
If I may then, Mr. Mayor, I would like to nominate Ward Collie, biggest child in the room. Not the other. Councillor Byrne, he's done fantastic work in working with our youth council already and setting up foundations. With our assistant town clerk, John Denny, and the youth council making great strides in the right direction to support the membership of Councillor Byrne. And I know that he will take the additional responsibility this role brings, the other elements, ensure that this council is well informed in all things youth that's happening in our town. So I'd like to propose Councillor Byrne.
Councillor Platt.
Thank you very much. At the last youth council meeting, the youth council themselves would recommend this recommendation. They had support for Councillor Berman to be in this role. But we also recognised that it wasn't just the role of dealing and working with the youth council. There is a whole lot of other youth organisations that are taking place in this town, and it would be, including a lot of youth sport. So it's a much bigger role than just liaising with the youth council. I believe Councillor Brennan is willing to take on that role, but we let her ask him. And second,
Councillor Platt, are you willing to?
Yes, I do not believe in the role of champions, but we should all be championing youth sport, whatever they want to. As foolishly or not, wouldn't take it, but I was swayed by our young people to take on the role, so I accept.
Any other speakers?
Just to check that there's no safeguarding issues that the town council would have to take before Alex could take up his post.
So having a youth champion does not bring any additional safeguarding issues over and above those we already have and have plans in place to ameliorate and manage as part of the youth council work.
Any other debate? Councillor Bell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would very much like to enforce the idea that a youth champion is not just for our youth council. There are the uniformed youth organisations, there are informal youth organisations, and all the many sports and small interest clubs that our young people do around the town. So I would like to be assured that Councillor Berman is able to make contact with these people. And I personally would very much like to receive a report. Not every meeting, but certainly, a few lines written periodically to let us know what those various small interest groups are doing around our town, so that we're more in tune with the needs of the young people of Weymouth, because they are our future.
Councillor Harris, then over there, Councillor Harris.
I think, Councillor Weller, I think we've agreed that all champions should produce a report, either verbally or in paper, at least once a year, probably twice a year. Remember how much we agree.
Each
for.
Thank you, Councillor Harris, Councillor O'Leary. So we have a proposer in the second. Are there any other nomination? No, we'll go to the vote then. All those in favour?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 in favour.
Against?
And 2
Abstentions.
So that-
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations. Councillor Thurman. We look forward to receiving your report. 19 we've done, so we're on to the last few items now. So these two quite similar items, we'll do them separately. Number 20, deed of surrender substation site normal car park. They need to introduce that.
Thank you, Chair. As a council, we have a lease with Dorset Council for Longmore Country Park, public toilets and land around the car park, but not the car park itself. Dorset Council have approached us and asked us to spend a small parcel of land close to the car park. The EFP Electricity can install a small electrical substation. It is believed that the substation will support EV charging points in this area. 14.5 are our financial regulations that we do need to get permission from full council. We wish to dispose of any of our assets. Therefore, our officers are requesting this evening that members agree to spend a part of the council's lease at Longmore as per the report.
Right, I've answered one of the questions about public charging points. Any debate on this one? Or should we? So there is in second. So proposed and seconded, all those in favour?
Nine, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Against?
None.
Abstentions?
That is
Motion is carried. Number 21, this one has been a long. So that's it. It's our last thought. Charming, the introduce this item.
Chair, I did get Councillor Harris chuckle when I did Councillor Harris, it has taken a while. In June 2021, all council agreed, councillors and officers liaised with Dorset Council to establish a names of contact so that we could look at the legal, financial and community implications of transferring kids are off like Southfield from Dorset Council to Weymouth Town Council. Following very lengthy processes and procedures discussions over the last 3 years, the Dorset Council, we finally negotiated what we feel are favourable heads of terms. It has been proposed that Weymouth Town Council enter into a lease with Dorset Council for a 25-year term and use proposed transfer land in the area or open space. The only costs associated with this transfer will be legal fees and office time in maintaining and clearing the site, which can be met from existing budgets. Therefore, council is being asked to agree to officers proceeding with asset transfer the former Kids R Us site sample as per the attached text of notes.
Can I,
Councillor Harris first.
thank you very much. I'm delighted that this has finally come to the shame that it didn't come before in the old council, because I know that Councillor Barrow also put in a tremendous amount of effort to try and get this transferred sensibly. I'm still a bit disappointed because it's been given a 25-year lease, but if you look at the land next to this, the long strip on the right-hand side, that's the pay park effectively. why this wasn't just attached and given to the same lease as that play park, instead of going through all the effort of getting a lawyer and barristers, drawing up a new lease for 25 years when the rest is a 100-year lease. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And it's one of those areas where council collaboration has been seriously lacking. But I hope that will now change. I'm delighted that it happened. When we had one of those improved neighbourhood days, 40 people volunteered and helped clear that site, which had a rotten fence around it, all sorts of rubbish on it, and a whole lot. And 40 people worked hard on that over one day. That was a year ago. Because we thought it was coming over there. A year ago, and it's taken a year to just get, because they've all been agreed, got a year to get the paperwork sorted out, council level. So I hope that that sort of council activity. I approve transfer and recommend.
So, Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had one query because it doesn't actually say in the background information what it was that Councillor Barrow had in mind for the area. And I'm just curious, is it just going to be added to the existing play area, or did he have a specific goal in mind for it? And I'm just interested.
I'd like to respond to that one, Councillor Harris.
Yes, very quickly. The local community had a reasonable sum of money in a charity fund that was going to put the zip line there. And extend the play area. Unfortunately, all the children that zip line was aimed for have now grown up and grown old. But I'm sure we will find something similar for that area. It's to join up with the play area.
On balls it. Councillor Civil, then Councillor.
It's not a deal breaker, but is the rent negotiable?
It's £1 peppercorn rent per year.
I thought.
Yeah.
We have to start another second. Councillor Hope.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Question to second the motion needs to be. Bob's already alluded to part of my question, which was around the need for this land now in the community. Being a former councillor at Southfield before the reorganisation, I recognise and appreciate that Councillor Harris was working with the community group over there to take that land over and adopt that land to build it the way that he's described this evening. And I was wondering if that community appetite was still there to do so. The second part is really more for information that when Dorset Council reviewed this policy probably 6 months ago at their overview committee, I asked the question, in this case, why is it taking so long? Now, they've assured me that future transition should take, and that was 6 months ago, future transition shouldn't take more than 12 months. This is a legal approach. And the reason I say that is because I don't want to discourage or put off members or officers looking at how community that could better serve our community. And this hopefully will also in the area of Southfield. So really we need to hold Dorset Council to those timelines, 12 months, because there's been a change of administration. Volunteers in the organisation of Council have resigned and changed. And that could put this project in jeopardy. Now I've got confidence the residents of Southfield will deliver the best for this piece of land with the support of Williamstown Council. And with that, I'm happy to do the motion.
Yeah, it's great. Your proposal is seconded. This is tonight is to agree the transfer rather than. But let's just make sure we don't delay it any further.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, with greatest respect, we need to understand why we want this land before committing to £10,000. So I think the question does come to
Yeah. Just to clarify, Councillor Civil.
I think that might be the limit. Number.
The only associated costs are up to around £1,000 on legal costs, which this budgets.
So you have a proposer and a seconder. Read this. All those in favour.
That is unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much, everyone.
That's good. Now, the next one, information items, and it's, that we need to address it in our. So those are the information items, which you were asked to note through that. With that, we'll just the meeting. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.